by Mr. Costa. Dr. McGee?
Chairman Bourget,
Yes.
Vice Chair Burke.
Yes.
Mrs. Kepiscus.
Yes.
Mrs. Costa.
Yes.
Well, in closed session, the committee approved the execution of employment agreements with non-union employees for the duration listed. The terms and conditions of existing contracts are to remain in effect. For new employees, the terms and conditions shall continue as currently paid. Upon completion of negotiations with the Woonsocket Teachers Guild, the superintendent shall award new salaries and amounts not less than currently awarded, and the employment agreements shall be executed in full by the individual non-union employee and the chair on behalf of the committee. The new salaries shall be made retroactive to July 1st, 2024. In addition, in closed session, the committee prepared the evaluation of the superintendent, and we presented the evaluation to him. Would you now please join me in standing for a moment of silence and a pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll go into good and welfare. For anyone addressing the school committee this evening, please begin with your name and address. Your comments shall be no more than 5 minutes of speaking time and should be in good decorum. Please be aware that the committee cannot respond to you during good and welfare, but may direct you to an appropriate member of the administration team or may meet with you directly after the meeting for further discussion. Is there anyone who wants to address the school committee?
My name is Melissa Bubble, and I am at 650 3rd Avenue, Woonsocket, Rhode Island. Good evening, everyone. I want to share a personal belief that has guided me through my life. Where there's a will, there's a way. Growing up, I never accepted I can't as an excuse. I firmly believe that with determination and community support, we can find solutions to any challenge that we face. As a parent raising my own children here in our neighborhood, I see firsthand the importance of our local schools. Having a school nearby means kids can spend less time commuting and more time engaging in activities they love, whether it's playing sports, participating in school clubs, or simply having time to unwind after a busy day of learning. It also means I can easily volunteer at school events, attend parent-teacher conferences without rushing, and build relationships with teachers and other parents who share our commitment to our children's education, including walking to these events. Did you know that neighborhood schools provide significant benefits beyond convenience? Studies have shown that children who attend neighborhood schools have higher attendance rates, stronger community ties, and better academic performance compared to those who commute longer distances. Additionally, these schools contribute to local economies by supporting nearby businesses and enhancing property values in our neighborhoods. My conviction against building a mega school off a highway is strong. Let me illustrate the positive effects of preserving and repairing our existing schools. I've heard, and I'm not 100% sure, that the estimate for repairing our schools would be around $30 million to repair and update our 3 neighborhood schools. In contrast, building a new school elsewhere is projected to cost approximately $84 million. How can anyone argue that building a new school is a more cost-effective option? Instead of letting RIDE decide what's best for our children, let's make our voices heard. Let's tell RIDE that we prioritize the preservation of our neighborhood schools. At the end of the day, I see that money is money. Let's push back and have RIDE help us preserve our schools instead and update them. Newer and fewer is not always the answer. Let's freshen up our schools instead and update them, just like Cumberland has. These schools are not just educational institutions, they are pillars of our community, fostering relationships and providing stability for generations. I'm committed to continuing my petition and advocating for the repair and enhancement of our neighborhood schools. Together, let's demonstrate that investing in our existing schools is not only financially responsible, but also essential for maintaining the integrity and vitality of our community. I really do not think that the design of this mega school was thought through enough for traumatized, behavioral difficulty children and destructive children. This was thought out from an office view, not an elementary school. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wants to address the school committee this evening?
Hi, I'm Ian Chinaski. I don't actually live in Woonsocket, but I am an educator here in excuse me, the district. Just a little background. I don't currently live in Woonsocket, and I didn't technically grow up in Woonsocket, but my mother had worked at the old Berlinger Photography, actually right down the street on Hamlet Ave. I spent many times, many days in the summer there. My father, growing up, lived in a home on South Main Street, so I spent a lot of time in Woonsocket growing up. So I have a little bit of a soft spot for the city. At the last, well, not the last one, but the joint city council school committee meeting, it was mentioned that they hope to hear from educators more. And a remark that stuck with me from someone on city council was they said they had an interest in having a better dialogue with the school district. And I think that's been kind of on my mind for a while. And I think that's something that's really important and something we need to explore, because in my experience in the past 5 or almost 6 years here as an educator, is that there seems to be a big divide between like what goes on in the community and what happens at the school district. Like, it's no fault of the school district. It just seems this weird schism. So like, for example, there's all kinds of events happening in the city. Like the Levitt Amp concerts down in near Main Street, and they always have like culturally diverse performers and all kinds of like really things that should be like all our students should be about. And I asked my students, like, hey, you going to this concert this Friday? Like, what concert? I'm like, how do you not know about this? It's like, and it just is this weird kind of thing where like no one in the community, well, no one in our school community seems to know what's happening in the broader community. And you see this like in other things too. Like, I try to go to all the sports games here at the middle school. I try to attend at least one game from every sports event or whatever, every team. And I was struck by a moment when we it was an away game at Pontiac for track and field. And they had three rows of runners for an event. We had one, despite our middle school being about like 3 or 4 times the size. And like another event was when we had Jen Maiello's excellent Beauty and the Beast performance, absolutely out of this world performance. I could not believe what those kids were doing. I invited some of my friends who run the drama program at Situate, and they've competed in like competitions like nationwide and stuff, and they were absolutely blown away. And while the auditorium was reasonably full, it wasn't packed, and I feel like it should have been packed. And like, this is no fault of the school. It's just there's this strange divide between the community and the school district. And I think it's my personal opinion that the school should almost be like the focal point of the community. Like, things happening in the community should be like things happening in the community should be like communicated to the school district, and we can pass that information to our students to like create a better, to make students feel more part of the community, to make the community itself at larger be more supportive of the school. And I feel like if we could, I don't know what needs to be done, but if we could open up some kind of line of dialogue with the city to, promote events or something, city events, as long as they align with like, the goals of the school district, of course. But if you could promote those events within the school, promote school events in the city as a whole, just to get a bit more of a cohesive feel of community, I think it'd be really important and really beneficial for our students. Because I feel like a lot of them they don't feel like they belong to the community as a whole or even their school. I think if we could make everything feel a bit more cohesive, more important, it would make some really big improvements to our school district. I don't know how we could do that. Like I said, it's no fault of the school district. It's just, I think it's something that's just been happening, and I really hope maybe we could open some line of dialogue with the city or create some kind of community reach out person position, stipend position, something in the district to help kind of further this dialogue and hopefully build a better sense of community. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wants to address the school committee? Then we'll move on to the approval of minutes, and I will make a motion to approve the June 12, 2024 open meeting minutes. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Costa. Any corrections, changes to the minutes? Dr. McGee?
Chairman Bourget,
Yes.
Vice Chair Burke.
Yes.
Mrs. Kepiscus.
Yes.
Mrs. Costa.
Yes.
Next, we'll go to the consent agenda, and I'll make a motion to discuss and approve the consent agenda. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Costa. Any items need to be pulled out for separate discussion? Dr. McGee?
Chairman Bourget,
Yes.
Vice Chair Burke.
Yes.
Mrs. Kepiscus.
Yes.
Mrs. Costa.
Yes.
Next, Dr. McGee will ask you to give us your superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. You have in your agenda the staffing changes that have been made since the last school committee meeting. You'll notice that there are a lot of pages of extracurricular hourly stipend positions that are primarily, there are a lot that are ESY, extended school year, as well as just other summer type programming that we are going to be offering here in the district that we will be starting in early July. So I would be happy to answer any questions you might have at this time.
Mr. Chair,
Mrs. Kepiscus.
may I ask where the rescissions come from that are at the very end? Are these rescissions of positions that receive layoff notices effective September 1 because classrooms are closing? Is this as a result of the job fair? Can I ask where those positions come from?
I'm going to let Ms. Kitchen respond.
Okay.
All of those came from, I don't think this is, they all came from the job fair. After we completed the job fair, those individuals were recalled to fill vacancies that we had. We still have additional vacancies that you'll see in the next school committee where we're working very diligently to fill our positions. And we have some positions that were open all year that we're able to fill the last couple of weeks. So we're very excited about that. We still have 4 individuals still on layoff at this point. We just don't have any positions that meet their certification criteria.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Then I'll make a motion to receive and place on file the superintendent's report. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Burke. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Mr. Perrier, would you give us the financial update?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In front of the school committee this evening is the April 2024 fiscal update. We are currently projecting a little over $120,000 surplus as of June 30th, 2024 projected. To some financial highlights on the revenue side, when the state budget was finalized in June, state aid for FY24 was increased over $961,000 over what was originally anticipated. Medicaid reimbursement per the projection is targeted to be $618,000 under budget. We have been conservative with this estimate, and we have seen it grown over the last few months. I'm likely to see this continue to grow as we close out the fiscal year. At this time, we are currently projecting about a $94,000 shortfall for revenue of the $100 million we have budgeted. On the expenditure side, all regular salaries are $456,000 under budget at this time. When netted with the employee turnover allowance of $1.24 million, this would put overall salary $784,000 over budget. Substitute salaries line is $11,000 under budget at this time. For the remainder of the year, all teacher substitutes will be charged to ESSER 3 at the increased rate that was approved previously by the school committee. Medical expenses are currently $1.388 million over budget. Past performance has caused this estimate to increase slightly over the prior month. The district has contracted with outside services to bring in additional support staff for the district. At this time, we have moved the majority of those expenses off to ESSER 3. We have cleared them from the general fund for fiscal year 24. Additional funds have been allocated to transportation to cover higher than expected ride transportation billings, and we will continue to monitor this as we get the last few bills for the fiscal year. And at this time, property and equipment purchases have been allowed to go through the general fund. Most of those projects we will be getting reimbursed for between 92 to 100%. That reimbursement will be used to continue to build our capital fund for our 5-year capital plan. And as we progress through the year and close out this fiscal year, we can pull expense off the general fund if another priority arises and we choose to move in a different direction. As I stated earlier, we are currently projecting a $120,000 surplus. And if the school committee has any questions at this time, I'd love to answer them.
Not about looking at the, not these numbers, but we're looking at a final budget. You figure in July meeting, Mr. Perrier? Finance committee, then school committee?
That's what I'm going to be working for. We're trying to get the budget wrapped up in July. I think that's going to have a lot to do with how the closeout goes over the next few weeks. We are kind of wrapping up a lot of things. We are transitioning a lot of things as well. There's been a lot of changes this year as far as vendors in particular. We've changed our food service vendor. That's kind of taken up some time. The new building has really monopolized a lot of my time as well. Now that we've kind of made the final fiscal decisions on that, I see my schedule opening up a little bit over the next couple of weeks. So I am hopeful to get it done in July. And that's what the plan is. But I will definitely keep everyone apprised of the situation. And if we are not done in July, we will be done shortly after that.
Very good. Any questions for Mr. Perrier? I'll make a motion to receive and place on file the financial update. Do we have a second?
Second?
Second, Mrs. Costa. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ms. Morel, would you give us the special education update?
I will. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So in front of you is a special education update. On the last page of the update, there is a snapshot that I've incorporated. RIDE takes a snapshot of the disabilities by count. They do this in October, and they also do it on June 1st. So this is the snapshot that gets uploaded to RIDE, and it outlines all the disabilities categories and how many students we have in each category. With that stated, because it is a snapshot, if you add up all of the IEPs that we have that I'm reporting on currently today, we are above that snapshot. This was taken on June 1st. We are about 22 IEPs more than what was on that snapshot, just in case you look at the numbers later on. So with that stated, with our school support visit that came out, there are some objectives that we are working on in the special education department for this year coming up. The biggest thing that we're working on is our goal writing and our IEP writing and progress monitoring, how we're collecting our data, how we're presenting our data to families, and how we're progress monitoring on our goals and objectives. That's a big part of what we will be working on this year, strengthening and improving. And also, there has been a big switch with our alternate assessment eligibility. The state has changed the criteria in which students qualify for the alternate assessment. This year, we're going to be spending a majority of our time redoing eligibility for students on alternate assessment. We have to do that every year at every IEP meeting. So that's something that we are going to be spending a lot of time redoing this year. Below are our snapshot enrollment numbers as of June 18th. Right now, there's a total number of 1,491 students receiving special education services within our schools from pre-K to 12. And that is slightly up from last month. It's up to 27.7% of our total enrollment population, about 5,383 students receiving services. We had some students in TransPro that have aged out, so we are down to 15 students from 18. We have 126 students in our out-of-district placements, with 116 of them with IEPs, and we have 220 students in private schools and pre-K programs, all with IEPs that we service. Come September, when I report out, it'll be interesting to see the numbers change from our graduation. This is still incorporating our students that graduated, so those will come out in September because it was June 1st. And then it'll have all of the updated information, and it'll be interesting to see any of the students that have left, that have moved to Rise Prep or any other schools. Do you have any questions?
You may have said it. Your 1491
Mhm.
total, I'm looking at the last page. It shows total students of 1,820. Is that something we should be comparing, or why is there a difference? You see what I'm saying?
Yep. So when you take so that's also incorporating the TransPro students,
Oh,
the
okay.
out-of-district students, and the 220 private school students.
Okay, so those students are not in your 1491, they're in the 1820.
Yep. The 1491 are the students that are in our buildings.
Any questions or comments? Mr. Kapiskas?
One, Mr. Chair. Ms. Morel, I know what the abbreviations mean on the snapshot, but I was wondering if the next time you provide that, if you could provide a little glossary of what TBI means. I know it's traumatic brain injury, but not everyone does.
I will do so.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You could just read them right.
And-
Do you want her to read them?
Yeah, why don't you?
Yeah,
Could
would
you
read
describe
them?
it?
Yep. So we
Alright.
have 204 students that fall under the category of autism. We have 2 students that are blind or visually impaired. We have 261 students that are considered developmentally delayed. We have 131 students that fall under the category of emotional disorder. We have 3 students that are hearing impaired. We have 329 students that are other health impaired. We have 68 students that are intellectually deficient. We have 464 students that are considered that have a learning disability. We have 21 students that are multi-handicapped. And we have 333 students that are speech only. They only have speech services in their IEP, and they qualify under speech. And we have 4 students currently that have a traumatic brain injury.
Thank you.
Good,
You're
thank
welcome.
you.
Anyone else? I'll make a motion to receive and place on file a special education update. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Costa. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We have one item in new business, and I'll make a motion to discuss and approve the Coastline Employee Assistance Program. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Costa. Dr. McGee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. So you have the service agreement, which is a 3-year service agreement with the Employee Assistance Coastline Program. If you look through the service agreement, it will give you an idea of what the scope of their services are. They have a multitude of services that they provide staff across the district. I mean, I'm not going to go through every one, but it's, there are case management services. There are work-life services, critical incident stress services. So there are a lot of services that our employees are afforded with this with Coastline. We've worked with Coastline in the past, and we've had a good experience with them in the past. So if you have any questions that either I can answer or Ms. Kitchen could answer with respect to Coastline and just the EAP services, we'd do our best to answer them.
Chairman,
Vice Chair Burke.
just a quick question. What is the number of staff that that make use of this program?
Unfortunately, Unfortunately, the company that we currently have, I tried to connect with them when I first started, and they never responded to me. So I have not been able to work with them. I've worked with Coastline for over 20 years in numerous positions. We'll have a better, they give us a quarterly report of who's using it and how they're using it, so we'll have a better idea how employees are using it. The company that we have now doesn't do that, and they really have not been available to me if I want to refer an employee to them.
So we're moving to this company brand new, starting in July.
Yes.
Okay.
And this is in partnership with the trust. And when we sign this contract, because of our relationship with the trust, I believe Brad can correct me, we will be reimbursed 50% of the cost by the trust for this.
Mr. Vice Chair, we also previously to the AP we're currently working with, we've worked with Coastline in the past
Yeah.
as well. So they wouldn't be new to the district. We
Yeah, 'cause
have,
that did look familiar.
yeah, we've used their services in the past.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Dr. McGee?
Chairman Bourget,
Yes.
Vice Chair Burke,
Yes.
Mrs. Kepiscus,
Yes.
Mrs. Costa.
Yes.
Having nothing else on our agenda, I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:26 PM.
Wow.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hi.
We are adjourned.
Hey,
Hey,
hey.
that's almost the
Hey, nice
fastest.
and
I don't wanna go
short.
That's
home and
close
talk
to
to
a
them.
record.